Ahoy and welcome to the Salty Dog, a special segment of the Catholic Men's Podcast, where we tell many a yarn for youngsters. Grab your grog, and we can begin. The Strange Case of the Dash, a 2-act play written by Matthew Miller, part of the Come In Adventure series. In each one of these series, the protagonist of the play will be addressing you directly. Please do not be alarmed. The various demands, contracts, requests, or threats of any of the characters in these plays are probably fictional and do not necessarily require any immediate action. The playwright's only request of the viewer is for you to come in to his protagonist's lair. Follow, if you dare. Come in. I've been expecting you. I always know when people are at my door. You don't even need to knock. I just know it. I knows a number of things in this city of London. Sit down, please. Get warm. Beastly chilly it is out there tonight. Eustace Montmorency is my name. Or at least that's as what they calls me out there in the streets. I'm sort of independently wealthy, as you might say. Some may call me very independently wealthy. No one knows as to how it got that way, but let's just say that I provided much of what the Americans needed during their Prohibition era. I had a stout ship with lots of nooks and crannies for Americans that love their Irish whiskey. Anyhow, the point is that I've got my friends everywhere and they see everything. I like to solve mysteries, you know, especially those that has to do with the sea. Oh, I love me a good sea mystery, and none is more mysterious than the mystery of the Dash. Have you heard of it? The Dash was an American trade schooner turned battleship against us English during the War of 1812. They were privateers, but most would just call them pirates. Oh, that word got your blood up, didn't it? Pirates. It always does in the young and reckless. Anyhow, the Dash was an appropriate name for a ship that sailed faster than the devil himself. They fought like the devil, too. Took the great HMS Lacedaemonian, a whopping 38-gun warship. The captain, a slip of a boy barely older than 20 named John Porter, raked in almost £1 million in our money today in less than 3 months. But the ship's success didn't last long. John Porter raced another ship home one night into the storm and never came back that night. There was no doubt as to the death of the crew, and it was never seen more. That's as one would think. They say the Dash comes back as a ghost ship and looms around the waters glowing green. It always made the same journey heading north from Casco Bay into Deadly Rocks, and its name stood out clearly on her hull, the Dash. It wasn't long before folk realized what it meant. The disaster was to strike their loved ones on the sea. The great American poet John Greenleaf Whittier wrote a poem about it called The Dead Ship of Harpswell. And men shall sigh and women weep, whose dear ones pale and pine, and sadly over sunset seas await the ghostly sign. They know not that its sails are filled by pity's tender breath, nor see the angel at the helm who steers the ship of death, and so on. Maybe you and I wouldn't trust the words of the locals, but would you trust the words of the U.S. Navy? I would. For it was they who saw it in Casco Bay last August of this year 1942. Navy ships were there scanning the bay for Japanese with their radar, and what do you think they found? A schooner sailing on the wings of the wind, as it seemed, right past them. Hold on, they thought. No one's allowed here after curfew. This must be an enemy. After firing several cannon rounds at it, they found that it was impossible to hit, and when the searchlight shone clearly on the hull of the ship, they saw written on its side, the Dash. And then it was gone. Now, there's some who say that it was I who disguised my ship as the Dash back in Prohibition days, bringing the Americans all their whiskey booty. They say that everyone who saw us was scared blue, and the Coast Guard would never touch us, what with our sails coated in phosphorescent green and all. By now, you're probably convinced that it was me hobnobbing with the U.S. Navy that night, but you're wrong. My ghost ship was sunk by the Coast Guard in 1932. They had mined the waters of a secret lagoon out by Oak Island, That's where we kept all of our stores, you see, until we were blown sky high. Poor old ship. She was a beauty. All that being said, I think there's only one fellow that could have run circles around the destroyers that night, and that's me old rum-running shipmate Johnny Jump-Up himself. But I haven't seen eye nor hair of Johnny Jump-Up since the night of our shipwreck. He went down under the sea, and I never saw him come back up. But I've just had new news that he's in town. My gang, my associates, tell me that the ghost of Johnny is back in London, and he's invariably at this hour getting a pint at the old Mizzen Mast pub with some other shady characters of his own. That's why I asked you here tonight. I need a witness. Someone to see that in this matter I'm not responsible, and if nicked by the police, you can tell them that I'm clean. At least, this time. All right then, shall we proceed? You could not go, of course, but that would leave me in a very embarrassing position. You wouldn't disappoint old Eustace, would you? Now then, let's say hello to our old friend Johnny Jump-Up. Eh? No, that's not really his name. Don't ask me how he got it. There's the cove over there. My associates have already taken care of his friends. They're so full of whiskey they're fit to be tied. Let's confront him. Oi, Johnny. Eustace. You look pretty good for being dead, Johnny. You be looking mighty fine yourself. Now, as much as I'd like to continue our parley, will you allow me to continue on with my friends? Well, Johnny, now that you mention it, I've got a mighty lot of friends over in that corner who would be just tickled to have your company. In fact, I have friends all over this pub that know you won't get very far if you try to leave tonight. Grand. A setup, is it? You can call it that. It's fate it is. I'll follow you. Into this room here for our private parley. Sit down and light your pipe. Don't mind if I do. I would have sworn your bones were rotting in a watery grave. Everyone thinks you're dead. Nay, Eustace, old fellow. You didn't get the word? Everyone thought I was dead, didn't they? But oil slicks only burn as what's on the top of the water, not what's beneath it, boyo. I feel proper ill used, Johnny. That's as may be, Eustace. But the world is wide and opportunity knocketh. I was right glad to be rid of you to pursue other contracts. Tell me. Been in with the Jerrys since then, have we? What's that you say? I say the Germans have been good to you, have they, Johnny? The gentlemen of the Third Reich? That's not having anything to do with this conversation. But it is, you see. I know all. I've informants everywhere, Johnny. They say you've been smuggling information of America's and Britain's defenses for the Germans. It's a dirty lie, it is. Look, Johnny. So you've been hard on your luck, and you've hated us British ever since you got mixed up with the IRA, haven't you? You would too if your house had been torched. Why would you do this to me, Johnny? Oh, it's a cruel world. Why would you abuse the trust I had in you? Is your hatred for the Allies all that bad, Johnny? Yes. Yes, it is. Look, you know and I know that I could have you killed in the next half hour, and no one would be the wiser. But we're old pals, you and I, Johnny, old pals. So instead of having a swift car or a lorry run you over after walking out of the pub door, why don't we call it quits, you and I? You get on a trading ship that's bound for Ireland, and if any of us ever see you again here or in America, for that matter, you won't know what fell on you. I'm much obliged for the encouraging words, Eustace. I'll take me leave, then. But if you think I'm staying in Ireland after the troubles we've had, then you're crazy. Very true. But just to be sure, I've asked my associates to escort you there on the ship. Very well, then. God be with you, Eustace. Good luck, mate. And try to stay out of mischief with those foreigners. Never forget, you're the foreigners in our land, bucko. That's as may be. But think of it this way. If you join back up with us, it's much better pay. I'll be giving that a thought. Well, God save all in this house. All right, let's clear out. Well, case solved. Nice little chat with you. And here's a little something for your troubles. Don't spend all those pounds in one place. Be seeing you, but you won't necessarily be seeing me. Night all. Thank ye for listening all. I wish ye fair winds and following seas. Until next time, Godspeed.